What is the contrary evidence that suggests stuttering can be stopped? There is a veritable mountain of evidence coming from our program, which proves that stuttering can be stopped. Yet stuttering associations and online stuttering communities like Reddit, the stuttering community, stuttering arena, on and on, they do not want to share any information concerning our program. They will not allow us to speak as I'm speaking here today. They will not, they criticize us online, and they will block our comments, explanatory comments. In other words, we have no free speech. It's attack, 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 and the defendant is not allowed to speak. And that's the way it works. And that's what's going on. Interestingly, it has been said by speech professionals correctly that 5% of all children stutter, 5%, and that 80% of the 5 outgrow stuttering, leaving 1% of the 5 stuttering. I believe that as well. In other words, they are conceding that millions of people beat stuttering on their own. Now, there's a reason why people outgrow stuttering. And I think I know a lot of reasons why they can outgrow stuttering. But those same reasons can be made available to people who do not outgrow stuttering. The fact that millions of young people simply outgrow the problem suggests that others should be able to find ways to outgrow it as well. Now, nearly all PWS are situational stutterers. This is why most of us run into very few stutterers. Like one of my best friends told me, "Lee, I've never known a stutterer." And I said, "Tom, you've known hundreds of stutterers. They just don't stutter around you, man. Number one, you don't make them nervous, or they don't talk if you do. So they don't stutter around you. My family never heard me stutter. I couldn't say squat in school. Nothing. They never heard me stutter. They thought I was making it up. And I never had any treatment either till I was grown and got it on my own. The fact that, okay, so situational stutterers, the good news about that is a situational stutterer on the scale of stuttering from 1% to 100%, a mute who can't say anything. Most of them are in this middle area. They're situational stutterers, and at least half the time they don't stutter. Well, in other words, half of their speech zones are stutter-free, which is a wonderful place. That's a great platform to build on. That's where you want to talk, where you're stutter-free, and you gradually work into the next most least pressured area just above where you are. So, our methods urge speaking in stutter-free zones, and they provide methods. This is very important. We've stumbled on, through trial and error, a number of things that you can do to avoid appearing to be a stutterer, even when you're in a pressure zone. Not necessarily all pressure zones. We may have to avoid some for a little bit later. We take them kind of one at a time. We have what we call a fluency ladder, and the zones are depending upon you and your stuttering severity and tenure and nature, and they're all different. The best zone for you and the next best zone and the next best, usually on the very top, it's public speaking. It's what I'm doing now. This is the last thing most stutterers can do. Now, okay, our proofs. What are our proofs? I personally have done 7,000 one-hour coaching sessions in the last 7 years. All no charge. And as a result, I've helped hundreds of people stop stuttering. The first 100 or so, it never occurred to me to document them. This is not a business for me. I've stumbled into this and figured this out. I want to help. That's it. So I began to document the cases, and I've documented a couple hundred of them. And we have videos and texts and so forth, and we can prove that we've got, a couple hundred people have literally stopped stuttering. I can't tell you how many of them have written me, "You saved my life," or "Your program," or "Coach Smith," or whomever saved my life. I can't tell you how many I've got of those. I get them almost every I would say almost every day, at least every week. Somebody else says, "You saved my life." I want to get stuttering off the planet. It can be off the planet. It needs to be off the planet. And that's what we want to do. So, and you say, well, do your cures, I won't use that word, do your stop stuttering stories last. In the stuttering professional world, as you likely know better than I, 90 days, if whatever you do, stop stuttering for 90 or more days, it's considered to be permanent by many. I'd say a third of our cases are 1 to 2 years now. Another third are 3 to 4 years, and another third are 5 to 6 years.
So I've pre-recorded my auto suggestions, and I listened to them the entire duration of me sleeping. I've been using word link linkage for the past year, actually. Basically, my journey was I was a shutdown blocker for probably as long as I can remember. And specifically for the last 5 years, it was really bad, and which you probably know because when I first called you, I was not able to utter a word, maybe 2 words through our entire 1 hour Skype discussion. So basically, it was so bad that 3 years ago that I decided, okay, let's do something and let me work with someone who knows, who's experienced with this. So about 3 years ago, I found you, Matt, through Matt, calling Matt, and he recommended me to you, and that's when it really started. The entire journey of, from going to a shutdown blocker to being able to have this conversation with you right now. So one of my major problems, and likely the problems that every PWF has, is the dreaded first sound. Yeah. So in a nutshell, those are the 4 things I did. Was 1, read your book out loud. 2, if I was going to block, I would just say, hey, look at this. I would point at something or write it down, and that would minimize the blocks. And because I got past the first word, it would just carry me through.
Since I started to practice your methods, I'm now living that dream. I speak fluently. I'm a kids pastor. Next week, I'm going to be on stage in front of 1,600 people. Every week now, I'm on stage in front of 200 kids and volunteers. I lead leaders. I send out videos every single week of me doing training and telling my volunteers what's going on in our kids' business.
I am an ex-stutterer. And even more importantly than that, I'm finally happy.
I tried to use your crutches to change my voice tone and to use my body language.
Okay.
And some sentences I got totally stretched out, but I have tried to speak really slow and try to read the book with a passion.
Good.
And you know what? When I started with Lee, I had it was a terrible stammering. When I used to speak with Lee, I had a lot of pressure and glimpses around my mouth, and it was like, my forest. Oh God, it was so terrible experience. But he has built a confidence in myself that it is possible. It is possible to get a stammering cure.